Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Building Evolved with me, UTC. Right on cue. If you enjoy this episode, go ahead and click the like button. Today's intro is going to be a short one because I want to get a lot done. So, plan A. Use the castles and keep stuff in the same form we did up there, the sandstone with terracotta roofs, and I'm going to build a city wall for this side of the city, and I'm going to include a gate somewhere right about here, and I think what I will include is a bit of a dirt road. Take advantage of what we got here, and come on down and meet into the docks area, and then eventually tie into what we got over here. I think the road will eventually end up tying into this little chunk right here. I will see. But I think we need to start planning out this chunk of the city. And to get stuff done, bam, plan out the city wall, slap dunk that, and then build up the docks and the boardwalk around here. Include a little gateway, little sort of on-foot size gateway, and a little road. And then once that's done, we can really start planning the next area. So like I said, if you enjoy, click the like button. I'm going to get to work, and when I come back, I'm going to have a city wall and hopefully a bunch of this infrastructure built up from me to that big old megatherium. Back in your life in a moment. That's right. This thing is looking good. I have been at this for hours. Guys, the next time I commit to build a castle wall, I'm going to set aside a serious chunk of time. I have yet to decide what I think of everything. But if you see there's torches on either side of me, I use those to sort of light up a temporary idea for a road. And I thought what we would have here is sort of a footpath, and then the main traffic for the city would need a bigger gate. So I went and worked around the behemoth gate option. I really don't know what to think. I had it in sandstone earlier, and it didn't look quite right. This end is sort of floating up a little bit, so I had to build some crap up around it. If I go back to sandstone, I can remove all this, the stairs. Tough call. And I think the top needs to be beefed up somehow, but I really haven't figured out how. But yes, this is going to be the bigger road. It's sort of a natural pathway through the trees here. I didn't clear this. This is here. And it seemed like it was built to have the traffic coming into the city. If there was some into this area, I was just talking to one of my patrons who used to play with us a bunch, a good builder, and was asking if he could take on a project in town, and was curious if I had an area, anything like the Street of Steel from Game of Thrones, which would be sort of markets and blacksmiths and those type of things. And I have not yet planned that out, but that's what I wanted to get done by building up a castle wall today. By the way, let's head over here and take a look at it on this side. Here's your little footpath through. Actually, we can get rid of this thing now. Get rid of. Yep. This is the little footpath through. I really like this gateway. That one I don't love, but we're getting there. And I've done some kind of weird shapes with the towers, but yeah, it goes all the way down, and then there is one tower. Ooh, did I double jump? I didn't mean to do that. There's one tower floating out there on the edge of the water, which I think is about perfect. The castle wall would come down to around there, changes height as it goes up and down, and then I built a little pathway. I'll end up doing the same thing with the main street that leads you down to the docks district. So down here will be a new boardwalk, and up to our right will be buildings. Also need to get some farmland, some grazing area for any time I need to really fill some space without a whole lot of effort. So that will connect to here, and then eventually maybe, this is hardly a road, but maybe somewhere around here is where the main road can kind of terminate. This tree might have to go. We'll see. We'll work around it, guys. But basically, what we have now, and this time I will fly for real, is a big area to work with. And I want to start carving out some areas for my patrons to take on building projects. But the problem is I need to do a lot more infrastructure. If you guys remember when this series very, very first started, around episode, off the top of my head, 17? Something like that? Yes, episode 17 of this series is the first time we came to Cole Harbor. Basically what I did was I just started laying out the coastline. And from there, we started working on builds. These two were the initial builds, the first two builds in town. And eventually, I think I could spam in buildings and start to do that. So I think what we'll have is a row of buildings right along the docks here, maybe with a second raised up boardwalk over top of this one, sort of like we have right here in front of the entranceway to the church. If you have a look here, something like that maybe. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then there'll be a row of buildings, and then behind that row of buildings, we'll have this whole area. back here, and we'll have to decide what to do with it. I think buildings will have to come around the corner, hug the edge of the cliff, and go all the way up to this main street entrance. I would love to have a paved road, but I think that would just be an absolute nightmare for me to try and get something that looked good. I have some ideas. I'll show you guys actually, since we're flying, I'll show you guys something I did that sort of works as like a little pathway. I made little step stones to fill in some space over here by the actual castle, and I think that color scheme is going to work. It doesn't look terribly out of place for the gates down the city walls down there, and I think when you come back here there'll be a bigger, grander version. I didn't do any round towers on the gateways, and so I figure I will leave the round towers to the castle, and everything on the gateways will be angular. But this area down here, just to the right of the castle, I wasn't sure what to do with it. We have this fenced-off area to the right that has the little forest cottage in it. Went back and watched that episode today. Somebody was asking how to do these little half-size gateways. Okay, hold on a second. Get rid of that. Constant problems. But I did these little step stones. So vanilla foundations, stone foundations, and I painted them, I think, olive green and made a little pathway. So I figured we'd hide some little housing back here or something, but I don't want to obstruct the view of the house or whatever we do, or the castle. Not the house. Whatever we do will be tucked in here. So I could figure out how to do a paved pathway with these, changing elevations using pillars, but it would be an insanely time-consuming task, and I don't want to commit to that. So I think we will have the small dirt road entrance on foot down to the docks district, and the city's getting too big for itself. I have to leave render distance now. So we'll have that narrow pathway down there, and eventually, you know what, it might stick to the green area, and we'll build up over top of this brown shoreline, and then this area up here will have to come down, and somewhere, maybe right around here would be the area for a market. Maybe you build a market around that tree, something like that. Circular area, but I am going to need to just grind again off camera, and it's barely grinding, guys, because there's no resource collection, but it's build grinding. It's just pumping building pieces out and getting work done. And a city like this, you could probably, building it in survival would be a nightmare, but even building it in creative is a big time-consuming task. So I think I'm going to have to spend some time once again off camera bringing this place to life, but I wanted to check in and show you what I had at the end of today. So once more on foot. Okay, perfect. This is the gateway I like the most. We got a couple of these little portcullises here, one here and one here. So I don't have a gate in here, but if you did, you could imagine those are the little footpaths, and you got the same sort of Tudor style housing bits built onto this. I'm pretty happy with what I came up with, despite the long hours put in. So today's episode, guys, is going to take me a couple of days of work. I think I'm going to go put in a bunch more time off camera, see if I can start. I was going to come back to you, by the way, after doing the left side and go, this right side is going to take me forever. I'll leave that for later. But I put the time in and I finished it. And well, semi-finished it. And now I think what I'll do is put the time in and start putting down the infrastructure so that I can start taking plots of land and giving them to the geeks and saying, you build this here, you build that there. Ooh, one last thing before I let you go, guys. Check that out. See that long ship? That is the only ship here that I actually built. That was from the Viking town, and I lost it. And you can see our crane in the background. How good is that looking? How good does that look? That was from last episode. Anyway, guys, I will let you go. I'm going to go put in a bunch of work. I'm going to transform this area right here. And when you come back, maybe I'll be standing right on this rock and show you what I have come up with. Ta-da! How does that look, guys? Alright, hopefully I edited that together in a way that made it look somewhat smooth. You never know. But I have been doing work. You guys see a lot of new stone foundations, and you see a big wall up there of painted adobe with painted stone at the top. Right up there, built around that tree, is going to be a marketplace. Each of these chunks of stone is the foundation for a building. Now, I should say, it's quite late at night for me, guys. This is the last thing I'm going to do before calling it night, so the rest of this episode will be recorded another day, but I did want to show you what I had in the works. So, if you come down here, this is that footpath we installed through the foot gate. I will be calling it that temporarily. And then, and I got a Megatherium sitting up there. And then over here, I have laid out a series of stone foundations and built up a second boardwalk. This one got a little bit of landscaping over here, using the lit tree and some bushes, and I think it looks pretty good. Added in a little staircase right here that ties in once again to the sort of maze of pathways throughout the city. And then up here, a series of foundations. Now, if I zoom out, you got one giganto one here and one pretty big one to the left of me. Those will be sort of warehousey style buildings, I think. And then in behind those, and I guess I may have to branch that footpath off so it comes up and ties into this as well, which will be a second path. There will be sort of houses up here to your right, and I think that's what I'm thinking. 1, 2, 3. Is that the same one? Maybe 4. You got another individual foundation back here, and then you have some oddly shaped ones right here. So we could add buildings in here. We could kind of figure it out as we go. And then I will walk you back up to this area. So I don't think there will be a major road running through from this gate. If we do a major road, maybe it'll happen down there on the other side of the city when we build another wall like this one. But through this gate, you come in and you come into a marketplace. And this is kind of the look that we're going to have. So you come in and you see this big sort of flat platform. I was going to say platform built around a hexagon in the middle of this tree, and I painted it up in a few different colors to sort of make it stand out from the rest of the city. The areas I built in the early stages of this, I did a really good job with paint, and we haven't done a ton of painting since we've been back here at Cole Harbor. So that is slate. Actually, it's a mix of slate and mud. There are a couple different colors on the stone, and then under there is a tan adobe. Inside out, regular way out, inside out, and I like that little pattern. I have it on one of the buildings off there to that side, and I think it looks good. And the last thing I want to show you guys, so eventually we'll get a marketplace going. Eventually, I will build up on these individual foundations, or I will get people to take on projects here. I'm sure I won't have too much trouble getting volunteers, but I repositioned some of the ships in the harbor. That would have changed in between episodes too. Aha, perfect. And I'm just going to walk us over to the crane before I call it night for myself tonight. Now, I think there's more to this episode. Feels like most certainly there is. I either need to do some building or continue my city planning. You guys see this little troop of monkeys? I put a captain's hat on that guy. Adorbs. Just adds to the life of the city. Speaking of, you will see more of that coming up here. But let's head out and check out our crane. It now has a ship positioned under it, and I think it looks fantastic. That is the project from last episode, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. So, speaking of the life, check out that rock covered in seagulls, including a big Pelagornis-style seagull. You come down to the docks, and these docks I mentioned being cleaner, more organized. So far, I'm keeping up with that. And I feel like you should be floating out over the water, Liz. Yeah, perfect. And yet again, a rainstorm. But there's that crane, and the crane hanging out over a ship. So if we do a little zoom out job, tell me that doesn't look fantastic. I am pretty happy with that, guys. All right, so very late night for me. I will be back in just a second from your perspective, but for me, an entire day will pass. See you in a minute, geeks. Hello, sir. These advanced draft ships are amazing, guys. I'm up on the mast, and I can totally just stand up here. It's the best. I'm sort of at a loss for how to complete today's episode. So we got a lot of progress done. Built an entire castle wall off camera, and then once again off camera, I did some of the planning for the areas that are up ahead here. I think that marketplace area is something that I'm going to hold off working on. I'm not sure if that's going to be the final form of the platform upon which the market is built. We may end up trying to do something more circular, which would be kind of cool. So what do I do for today? Well, I talked about how, and I suppose we can do a little. So what do I do for today? How do I make an episode out of today? Well, I think it'll be a little bit more off-camera building. In the next episode, I will dedicate to doing a project on camera with you guys, and I have one in mind that I think is going to be quite cool. Maybe not next episode. Well, we'll figure out the timing of things. But I think what I will do is try and go plop houses there. 1, 2, 3. Now, if we zip over here, I think that might be a good plan going forward. An episode of a lot of on-camera building, like the crane, and an episode of a lot of off-camera building, like today. So I'd written down tavern or pub here. Now, if I'm just doing the exteriors, it's probably not going to be obvious what's what, but maybe I will plan on that. And then I had warehouse-style buildings here. Oh, merchant's house and warehouse. Now, this is kind of what I had in mind. The warehouse building, I have, by the way, adjusted the pathways. So there is a way through here. And I have the warehouse building, I have put a gate on the back of it. It feels like my frame rate's a little low right now, guys. So if that's obvious to you, apologies. And then another gate right here. So what I think I will do is kind of like I did in the very early stages of this harbor town, after laying out the docks and the boardwalk and building those initial 2 buildings right there and there. I think what I will do is try and lay out the frontmost row. I may skip this one. I will aim to have a sort of high-end house for an individual, a sort of dock master, harbor master. And then right here, I will try to have more of an industrial warehouse-style building, something like that, with maybe some gates or double doors on the front. But I think what I will do is put in some time off camera, and we'll finish up today's episode showing off what I did, talking about techniques, and what I like and or hate about the builds I am about to do. We will see. I have no idea if I'm going to like or hate them. All right, guys, heck of a lot of progress for today, and I know I'm bringing you back when it's dark, but I wanted to show you what these 2 new buildings look like at night. And my challenge that I gave myself was to combine the castles, keeps, and forts stuff that we've been using on the castle walls and stuff like that with some of the vanilla stuff that we used to build this city. So all of the original buildings over there built with Structures Plus or vanilla and nothing else. That so glitchy, careful. And I wanted to have, if we're going to be transitioning between the two, from the walls to the inner city, I wanted to have a way to kind of merge them, and I wanted to come back before all the torches went out. It seems they have, so let me go ahead and brighten things up for us. That's a little bit better. 10 a.m., just about perfect for this part of town. So how did I go about combining the two? Well, let's start over here. My concepts were warehouse and merchant's house. And with the merchant's house, I figured I would take the thing that I like the most about this Castles and Keeps, which is the keep tier wooden structures. These ones right here, you can choose. I'm not going to change it because it's painted, but that is the keep wood painted in brown, I think, or olive. I can't remember at this point. I did the stone down here and tried to paint this stone in slate to match. And then I tried to have vanilla wood along with the adobe painted brown in order to match things. And I think I did an okay job. Now, this house doesn't have much to it. Most of my houses are mainly shells, fill space as opposed to be super useful, but you can get in and out of both these houses. Little pathway in between them. Go ahead and poke your head on the inside. This is what it looks like on the inside. Ooh, a little bit of lag. So the way that I did this, guys, was I attached a couple of the rounded ceilings to my foundations, built up, and then up there, I built a perfect circle with the rounded ceilings, capped it with a roof, and I just merged everything together. Now, this village built with no clip and with S+ foundation support turned off. So those are two of the most important things to mention. And this is the final look of it. It's got a little bit of glass on the back over here, which you will be able to see from whatever I end up putting in this little structure. And then we got this building here. Got a little bit of forest green paint. I'm still undecided on what I think of that, but it's mainly visible from the back of the build. A little brown on the wood over here. And then the main idea for this building was line it directly up with a dock and build it up. So the lower bits were built with the Castles and Keeps scaffolding on top of a vanilla foundation. So we've got S+ stuff down here, regular old stone railings built up, and I use the S+ triangles to create some interesting shapes here. And then right here, I incorporated a little elevator. Now, if you look up at the roof, it is actually a combo of the two. So it's the scaffolding ceiling along with a vanilla wooden ceiling on top. So we do have the elevator. We also have a staircase. So I have yet to figure out exactly how this is going to work. But there is a little storage area back there that is accessible. I didn't really build that up properly. There should be a staircase somewhere around here. You know what? Maybe if this is here, let's go ahead. Hold on a sec here, guys. We can do this together. Scaffolding. Let's go ahead and take you and put that right here. Right. Then you can cut through zip back up here, and get yourself in and out via this door right back here. So that can work. And I did the big gateway on the back for loading, unloading. If you leave it open, you realize we're in line with another gateway that takes you right up to the large castle gates. This is a lot of progress for one episode. Good Lord. Next episode, we're going to build something small and humble. I've got it figured out, and we'll go there before this episode is over. And let's go take a look at the upstairs. So I did something neat, mainly trying to get a cool-looking roof on the outside, little catwalk across here. I designed these as little storage bays. You could put doors on them if you want to. And then you get your elevator here, this wooden elevator from the Aberration DLC, if I'm not mistaken. And crank that right up. Boom. Perfect. Hop on and lower. Oh, gotta hold that. Careful. Those little ceilings get in the way a little bit, but I'm kind of happy I did that. So guys, after this, I am done building for today. That is the final look of the place. I'm off to work on some castle stuff with Dynamic D and either build the castle that goes on the far side of the river, or build the castle gateway over the canal entrance and the two canal roads, one on either side. So we're going to finish up today's episode by running up there. I have been doing the polls lately. Here's my poll question. Do you like the addition of this new modded stuff? We always had Structures Plus in this town, but we did not have other mods really beyond a little bit of eco tree stuff. Like this, and like this. Do you like the addition of castles, keeps, and forts? Are you excited to see me build with that, or should I stick back to my roots? That will be today's poll question, and let's go ahead and find a spot to finish off today's episode. If the answer is yes to more CKF stuff, then I can work on a new crane, although I love my current crane. I would like to just copy and paste that and put it all over the docks. I think that's great. And this is the main canal road. We do have one on the other side, but it's not as easy to get to and from there. So let's go ahead and get ourselves up here, and I'll show you the project I'm thinking on, other than there will be an episode with Dynamic working on the castle at some point later in this week. What are you getting here? A Wednesday episode I think I'm working on right now. So if this other one is not Friday, I may be Monday, Wednesday, Friday while I keep this series going. So what I want to do is another building like that, a little change of pace. Not that style, but a little building that doesn't fit in with the rest of the city. So today, Dynamic and I are going to take this big old castle, and we are going to either replicate it on that side of the river, or we are going to work on the entranceway. I think maybe we build the second castle first. We have our style now, and we just need to slam dunk a castle in together. So I will probably make an episode of that. There will be a gateway here for one road. There will be a gateway over here for the river with the portcullis, and there will be a gateway here for the second canal road, which is eventually going to be built all the way down here. Now, what is the project for next episode? Good thinking. It's about time to end this episode, so let's talk about that. I showed you at one point in this episode my new stepstones, this little footpath through here, right? And it winds and it winds and it winds and it hides back here. And I started thinking, what would be hidden near a castle but separate from a castle? And now I'm thinking, wizard. An old hedge wizard. An old wizard's tower. And I think it's going to be a really fun building experiment. I don't know if I'll wait on the poll results. I'm going to aim to do it with the vanilla building pieces instead of the CKF stuff. But we'll see what I end up getting myself into. That stuff's just too big for what I have in mind. So what I'm picturing is a kind of a crooked little tower. Something that doesn't go straight up nice like this. It's going to be windy, and it's going to have a little crappy looking house at the bottom, and then maybe eventually we'll plant some freaky gardens, something like that he would use for his potions and whatnot. But I feel like a wizard's tower might be the way to go. Kind of like a wonky tower too. That's kind of what I'm picturing, where it starts here and it ends up kind of curving off to the side. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but that is the project I am imagining for next episode. So let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. Smash the like button if you haven't done it. And if you're watching, guys, there are playlists in the description. Links for every series of Building Evolved I have done. And if you want to make sure you watch the episodes in order, I am manually going through and making sure that at the end of, say, episode 29, boom, episode 30 is the thing you're linked to, but it's taking me a long time. I'll do some more tonight during my Dungeons & Dragons game because it's online and very slow-paced. But that's it for today's episode, guys. Let me know what you think. Dive into a playlist. Share this series. Spread the word. Tell a friend. Not a billion people are watching this new run of the series. About 1,000 per episode, if I'm lucky. So yeah, spread the word. But that does it, guys. I'm UTC. This is the amazing Coal Harbor, and that is the area we worked on today. This whole town is coming together, and I am in love and in my element. Happy to be back. Longest outro ever. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you in the next episode of Building Evolved. Right on cue. Perfect.